Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today's card features the Flowering Tulips bundle that is coming out on January 4th, 2022 in the January through June Stampin' Up! Mini catalog. It is our spring catalog full of flowers and fun things. The Flowering Tulip stamp set has a two-step stamping to create beautiful tulips. Love that font. Look at all the different fonts in these sentiments here. And then we've got dies to cut out the stamped images, but also make, I had it sitting, where did I put that? You can also be cutting out really pretty die cuts there with this die set here as well. We're just going to be stamping on this one here, but this is a double Z fold. I'm going to put the stamp set off to the side. This is a double Z fold. I put the mechanism down here on the double part down here on the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to make this card using one sheet of our cardstock. So we're going to be using also the gorgeous Flowering Fields Designer Series paper. Look at all these beautiful tulips, all these bright colors, and some purples and poppies and pumpkins. And then on the back of these, you have, whoop, throwing around my camera, you have beautiful muted small patterns and also beautiful muted. Look at that, these clouds here and that beautiful petal pink and poppy. So this is going to be a gorgeous paper to play around with. Now I pulled out this pretty tulip pattern here, and it has evening evergreen and pear pizzazz, petal pink, poppy, and some pool party in the back there. So I decided to make my card base out of an evening evergreen, that darker green that's in the stems and the leaves of our tulips. And then I did the stamping here in pear pizzazz that brings out those lighter tones of green. So I'm going to show you how to use this one sheet here. We're going to start out with a 6 3/4 by 8 1/2. So if you take your stamping trimmer and you know this is 8 1/2, we're just going to cut this down to 6 3/4. So 6 3/4, and we're just going to cut off this section, but we're going to use this leftover piece here to die cut these circle scallops. These circle scallops are the circle scallops are 2 5/8, and the scallop that goes around the circles is 3 inches, so we have enough room to cut out our 2 scallops circles, and then we even have a little bit left to go in a scrap book. So since we scrap pile box, wherever you keep your little scraps. So we've got 6 3/4 by 8 1/2. Now our card base is going to be, when it's closed to fit into an A2 sized envelope, it's going to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So we're going to put that 8 1/2 inch side up at the top. No, we're not. We are going to here on the 8 1/2 inch side. Okay, yeah, put your 8 1/2 inch side at the top, and we're going to do our cutting for the actual card and the Z fold at the same time. So we've got the 8 inch side up at the top, and we're going to score at 2 1/8, 2 1/8. Now 2 1/4 is from 2 and then to this longer mark here, but we're going to go right to 2 1/8. So 2 1/8, and we are going to score with our lighter gray blade, and we're going to score down 2 1/8. And then our next score is going to be at 4 1/4. 4 1/4. And because we're at 4 1/4, that last section of the card, because we were at 8 1/2, we just, excuse me, we cut it, we scored it in half at 4 1/4, and then we took this 4 1/4 and scored it in half at 2 1/8. So now we just have to take that 6 3/4 inch side. Now remember, this is our card base. We're going to put the other side, the 6 3/4 up at the top, and we are just going to cut off 1 1/4. So 1 1/4, and we're just going to cut off that 1 1/4 with our dark blade, And that's going to leave us, so now that's going to leave us with our 2 pieces of our card. Alrighty, so let's just do that. So you have these 2 pieces. So again, we started with 6 3/4 by 8.5. Then we took the 8.5 inch side, well, let's turn it this way, and we scored it 2 1/8 and 4 1/4. That gave us our card base. Then we took our 6 3/4 and we put it up at the top of our trimmer, and we just cut off 1 1/4, and now we have our 2 pieces. Okie dokie. So let's pull those over here. Okay, so we have all these fun pieces here. Okay, and now you can see how this, now when we cut this, it was cut like this. They match up, but when we go to put the card together, we put it opposite. And then it's going to close this way and pull open like this. So you just cut to, you know, you score once, but you score the whole way down, cut it once, and now you have 2 pieces there. So this back piece, because it's 4 1/4 by 5.5, we're just going to put a piece of Pool Party, which I thought was gorgeous, to pull out that background that's in the designer series paper. And we are going to put that on our back panel. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, our multi-purpose glue. We're not going to really be writing on this, but so I can put a little squiggle in the middle there. But remember, if you're going to put a piece of white in there or vanilla into another card, you're going to want to not put big blobs of glue in there. Excuse me. I've got a little frog in there this morning. Okay, so we're just going to put that on the inside of the card. There we go. And that's the inside. Now we're just going to put our designer series paper and show it off on these 2 panels. And because this is 2 1/8, our designer series paper is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, because this is 5.5. And that just gives us a nice 1/8 inch border the whole way around that panel. So we're just going to go ahead and put this first one in. I like to line up the top and the bottom with the inside. And then with the glue, I have a little bit of wiggle room. And then I'm gonna put the other piece on. Make sure your tulips are going the same way, and you can see, if you cut them that way, you can match them up. But if you have 2 scraps of 2-inch paper, it won't really make a big difference if they aren't matched up like they were cut. So let's just match up the top and the bottom again, and then have the same about 1/8 inch border around the edge there. And now we've got that beautiful paper shown off there, and you can see the blue peeking through there with the Pool Party. And then we are going to be decorating this Z-fold here that goes across here. And like I said, we're going to put that long piece goes across the bottom here, and this was 1 inch. So our paper we're going to use here, now this is from the In Good Taste, that 24-pack piece of package of beautiful textured paper. I'm using this wood grain that's on the back of that hexagon mosaic ceramic tile there, and I just cut those down to, oh, actually, this is 1 1/4, so you're going to use 1-inch strips, which is perfect for cutting your designer series paper when you're, you know, wanting to use your paper wisely and get the most out of it. It's very nice to be able to just do 1-inch strips. And because that score portion is 4 1/4, you're at 4 inches. So also that's a nice dimension with the 12 by 12, because you can get 3 across your 12 by 12 and then 12. So you're getting 12 and then 12 inches and then 36 pieces there. So then these little guys here are going to measure also 1 inch, but they're going to be 1 7/8. And also, if you're cutting your paper 4, 4, 4, and then you're going 12 of 1 inch strips, this strip is 4, and these two are less than 4, so you also get to use your paper wisely there too, as well. If you like to make multiples or you teach classes, it's always a great way to figure out. I have my little, sometimes my DSP gets a little edge on there, so I just bring out that little sanding block there. Get a little more Tombow glue on this section here, and we've got the Z-fold made. There we go, a little edge there. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and put this onto the back part of the card. Okay, so that's gonna be this section here. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of do it upside down here. And we're just gonna line it up there so that it's in the corner. Hold that there a second. And then this is gonna close. We're gonna close our card, and we're gonna be putting our glue over here. And just line that up in that corner. I love how the wood goes so pretty with the tulips, kind of like you've got that look of a wooden barrel outside with some tulips growing by it, just a real rustic look there. So there we've got our Z-fold, and then we just have to make our focal point on the front of the card. And also, as you notice, I put the sentiment to be covered by that focal point. And you could actually, you know, you could put maybe the sentiment out here on the outside so that you can have a longer message there. Or if you put your sentiment on the inside, you could also put a panel of white on the back of your card if you want to write your message, because a lot of people love to display these. My best friend Amy still has a card from like 20 years ago displayed in her kitchen by her sink, watermarks and everything on it, but she says, I just always love that card. So you can find many different ways to put your message on, but I kind of liked this white peeking out here with the sentiment here. Okay, so like I said before, these circles are 2 5/8. I used the layering circles dies that have the scallops and these circles. And I think that one had some scratchies on there. And so we're gonna be putting them on the inside and the outside. Now what we're gonna do here on this card is we're gonna do a technique called stamping off with our tulips. So I'm gonna be using Poppy Parade because that's the pretty bright reddish color that's in our card. And I'm going to use Poppy Parade. And in the stamp set, you have 2-step stamping. So you're gonna stamp one and stamp the other. Now I found that the one that has more of a solid but yet broke up is gonna be my first one, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to stamp the Poppy Parade. And as you can see on the card, I just kind of, even if it ends up getting, if you stamp first, I suggest cutting your circle first, because then you're going to know exactly where you can put your flower. So I'm going to stamp this, and that's in full Poppy Parade. And then I'm going to set that aside and get the next one for the smaller tulip and also do it in full Poppy Parade. Okay, and that fits onto the card, onto that circle I made. Now the next layer is going to be this one and this one here, these two here. And what I'm going to do is stamp off. So I'm going to take the stamp, I'm going to ink it in Poppy Parade. I'm not going to put it right on there. I'm going to put it on a, you can do a scratch, but I decided why not do it full force on there, and then you come back and you line it up with that other one and you stamp it, and it has a lighter color from Stamping Off. And the reason why I didn't use scratch paper is I can use this again. I could put like maybe a pumpkin pie or a darker red, a cherry cobbler, or a real red, but I can use this image again. And I marked here SO, Stamp Off, so that I knew, because you know you do a little prep work before you start doing your stamping. So this one is also going to be stamped off, and this is kind of looks like a little bit of a warped heart here, wonky heart, and we're going to also stamp it off. Okay, then we're going to come back in here and you'll see this little hearts section. You're just going to pop that into there and see how it almost is a beautiful pink color. I think I'm going to start stamping off the poppy to get the pretty pink that kind of matches the blushing bride we have, because our blushing bride's a little on the browner side. And I also, like I said, marked it stamp off, so it's kind of hard to keep which one is which. But I can, like I said, I can stamp over this with a different color, and then I'm going to get another image that I can cut out there. So that isn't waste for me now. Okay, so now we're going to stamp our, I'm gonna grab a piece of scratch here because I don't want to get my surface here, and we're going to stamp our leaves and our stems. So you have this cute little stem here, and then you have two sets of leaves in here. You've got the stem and two sets of leaves. I'm going to use the smaller leaf here, and our stem there. So I'm going to open up my Pear Pizzazz, and I'm just going to ink it up, set it aside over there, and there's my, I'm going to make sure there's our one stem, ink up it again, and get that stem, set him aside. I just remembered I need my black, so I'm gonna grab it over here. There we go. I'm gonna need my black to put those little stamen pistils in there. Okay, so let's take our Pear Pizzazz and get it on this leaf. I love the fact that you can actually die cut these images with the dies. In the set, you have the die that'll cut out those two stamped images. Oh, look at that. I got an edge there. So let's just get out our chamois and get that edge wiped off. Always be aware after you stamp it which way you do. So we just want to get some leaves on here. Okay. Just put a leaf there. Just play around there. Get a little here. I'm going to put one in the middle. Doesn't really look right until you're all finished with it. And then we'll put one more here. Okay, so we've got our leaves and our stems there. I store my chamois in one of those clear stamping cases there, and it keeps it nice and you know, with some moisture in it. And so then we're going to stamp this inside one. Oh, but I just said that we needed the black because we are going to stamp those little fun little things. Just really finished off that. It really finishes off this inside of this flower. They kind of look like poppies to me too. So if you have to make a poppy, it could be a poppy as well. So that is going to be the focal image on the outside of our card. We'll go ahead and put a little glue on there. Okay. And pop that in the middle there, but we're not going to put this on until we put the inside one on. Okay, so now we're going to be using, I'm going to use a different sentiment on this one. I'm going to use the Love You So Much. So this technically could be a Valentine's card, or it could just be a card for someone special, but I think I am going to make it a Valentine's. Uh-oh. Looks like I got some black on there, so I will go back to this circle. Okay, So I'm just going to, I love working with the photopolymers, and I'm just going to put that right in the middle. Or I could put it down here. You could leave a little room for your message. So love you so much. Just let that sit there for a second so that the ink can get into the piece of basic white. Oh, look at that. What a mess. Well, I did all that trouble to keep this surface clean, and I got my hand. Get that off of there. Okay, make sure I don't touch that over there. So I'm going to turn it this way and put, I'm always telling the girls, go clean your hands at class, because boy, it does get messy. And then we clean our things off with our chamois and stuff like that, and then we end up with ink on our hands again. Okay, so now we're going to put this on the inside of the card, and all you have to do is center that sentiment on the inside. Okay, so open this up, center it right there on the inside. The nice thing about it is you can make it straight by turning the circle. Gonna just center it so that you have about the same amount on upper, bottom, and the two sides. Now when you close your card, when you go to put this one on, you're just going to line up those scallops. So that means we're only going to be putting glue on this section. Okay, just on the half part. Okay, and then we're going to come back, line up our scallops on this side here, press here where we glued on that section. I'm going to hold that there for a second so that so this is going to become a scratch paper now because of the, looks like a crime scene investigation here. So there we go. Was that simple or what? Just a couple little cuts and a real good use of your designer series paper. You can have, these are just 5 1/4 by less than 2 because it's 1 7/8. So think of a 12 by 12. You're going to get 2, 6. You can get 12 pieces of this, so 6 cards out of 1 sheet. So that is a really cool card there. You can use a happier birthday. I love that. No one deserves a happier birthday than you. So there we go. A double Z fold using the In Good Taste paper and the new flowering fields and the flowering tulips with the tulip die. I do believe they're just called the tulip dies. So this will be coming out January 4th in the mini catalog. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at 724-323-2296, or you can email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I like to post on Wednesdays of each week a new YouTube video showing off our great new products from Stamping Up. But I also have a blog, cindyleebdesigns.com, where you'll find different photos and additional visual things I can show you about this card and the products. And if you want the dimensions, they're also underneath the YouTube description. So you can just grab them right underneath the YouTube description. It says the measurements, but also there's a link to my blog. So you just press visit my blog here, press that link. It takes you right over to cindyleebdesigns.com and you'll find all that information. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.